So hello everyone, welcome to today's video where we are going to take a look at round 5 of the Goa GM chess tournament being held in Goa from the 11th to the 19th of January. I was facing Ratnakaran Kandoli again, who is better known as the Indian TAL for his very aggressive and complicated playing style, and he plays e4. I went for the Kerok on this game, and he surprised me with the pan-off system, and I wasn't really expecting it, but anyways, I had some ideas of how to play against it, and I played a6. The main move is bishop g4, I think, but I think after like white can force a draw here in some lines. I think bishop g5 is the main move, but yeah, I played a6, protecting the b5 square, and after he plays c5, my idea was to go g6, bishop g7 and castles next, and at the right time take on c4 and create an isolated pawn for white on d4. But he plays c5, trying to create some majority in the queen side, and he's going to push like a3, b4, and then bishop b2, a4, b5, and try to kill me on the queen side. But I played g6, and after bishop e2, bishop g7. Developing the bishop like this is the best idea here, because if I play e6, the bishop has not much scope on e7, because this pawn is like a granite. And so I played g6, bishop e2, bishop g7, and now I'm telling that the d4 pawn is a bit weak since it has no supporter here, and my play is going to be centered around that pawn. Castles, a3. I didn't really like a3 much. It seemed a bit too slow. I played b6 here. Maybe knight e4 was a better move here, but I'm not so sure. I played b6, trying to break apart his pawn structure, and he plays b4, bc5, and he takes with the b pawn, because if dc5 it loses to knight e4, and there's a very nasty pin here, and after knight e4, d4 he's losing a piece. So he plays bc5, and now I jumped in the center with my knight, and he plays the knight f4. I was also considering something like bishop b2 doesn't work because of rook b8, and the idea is I'm going to take on b2 next and take on c3, and if it protects the b2 bishop with his queen, then I can just take on d4, free pawn. But he plays knight f4, which is the correct move, trying to exploit the weak square on b6 with his coming with his knight on b6, and my rook is going to feel the heat here. Maybe I have some escape square with rook a7, but it's not so pleasant. I played bishop g4, again trying to attack the base of white's pawn chain, and after bishop e3 I went for f5, trying to hit the bishop on e3 with f4, and thereby weakening the pawn on d4. He plays h3, and after bishop h5 he plays bishop f4. The idea is to go knight b6 next, I believe, and I was also considering something like g3 here, and I don't know what I would have done here. Maybe something like f4 looks interesting, because after bishop f4 I have this, and like I'm getting the juicy f3 square. But I think even I don't know, maybe gf4 is working here, and maybe I have some initiative with queen d7 and hitting the pawn here, and after king g2, maybe just queen f5. Yeah, maybe queen f5, and I think I'm a lot better, because he has this stupid bishop on e3, and his king is quite weak. Maybe in the future I'll try to make something like h6 g5 work, and yeah, I like my position. But he plays bishop f4, and here I went into a long thing, because I was trying to make bishop takes f3 work, and after bishop f3 g takes f3, knight d4, takes. I couldn't really make this work after bishop h2, There's queen d7, knight g3, and queen takes h3. But I was thinking like knight takes 8 doesn't work, I think, because of no, I have to queen d7 directly doesn't work because of bishop g4, of course. Now the knight is protected, so I have to eliminate his light square bishop. Knight e2, queen e2. Now queen d7 and queen knight b6, queen h3. If knight a8, it doesn't work because of, I think, rook f2, rook f5, and I'm threatening this mate in 2 moves. And if he plays something like f3, let's say, or f4, I can. What can I do here actually? No, this check. Just king h1 is coming. So maybe rook bishop d4 first. But now rook d1. Yeah, the position is quite complex here. Yeah, maybe knight a8 is working. Yeah, but I was actually worried about knight takes d5, after which he's threatening to take on e7 with a check, and also knight e3 is coming, and knight is coming back for his defense, and white is a piece up for 2 pawns, but it doesn't really matter. I don't have a clear initiative here as black, and his knight as a defender is very strong, and I think black is clearly lost here. But I played e6, which is the best move here. My idea was to go bishop takes f3, but now I have some ideas like g5, g4 in the future, or even now. My opponent continued with rook b1. I think like I was considering maybe bishop e5 was a move here, but knight takes e5, knight takes e5, takes, and then like somehow he could just kick out my knight on e4, but still I think I should be better here, but maybe this was his best chance, to be honest. Also something like bishop f3 is working, maybe because bishop g7 doesn't work, bishop e2, and I attack the queen and I'm a piece up. So here g takes f3, just knight e5 takes, check. Yeah, maybe this is winning for me. I'm entering with queen f4, and it's clearly lost for white. But anyway, it's already a very hard position for white. He plays rook b1, and here I went for bishop takes f3. If g takes f3, I think knight takes d4 is working here, and after takes something like bishop. Okay. After g takes f3, I was planning to go queen h4, which is a very strong move here. Something like bishop h2 doesn't work because of there was a nice tactic with knight takes f2, rook f2, bishop d4, and the point is this rook is pinned, and if he protects it with the queen f1, there's bishop f2, queen f2, and queen takes a4. The knight on a4 is falling, and this was a very nice tactic. I was very happy to see during the game. And if after queen h4 he moves his bishop to this diagonal, bishop e3, then maybe I just have knight g5, and this h3 pawn is falling, and it's going to be mate very soon. And if takes, then I take, and after this knight takes d4, bishop e5 is coming, and it's going to be over for white pretty soon. So he played bishop takes f3, knight takes d4, bishop e4, f4, and now he plays bishop d6. And here was a critical moment for me. I was considering rook f7, trying to protect the 7th rank, preventing white from coming rook b7. And but the problem with rook f7 was knight b6 was coming, and after rook f7 I didn't really like to weaken my first rank, and maybe white is better, black is better here, but I think it's like I felt a bit uneasy in this position. So I decided to sacrifice my exchange with queen g5, which the engine says is a mistake, but I think from practical point of view is very strong. In the engine says queen f6 is a better choice, but after rook f8, I mean, yeah, maybe it is a better choice, but I don't really see how, because there's like no direct threat by black. Queen g5 was threatening knight f3 check, so it's just a more human move, I think. He played queen g4, but bishop f8 was the move that I calculated the most. I think knight b6 was also something I saw, but I was thinking about knight f3 check, and after king f1 I was planning to go bishop e5. And if bishop takes e5, queen takes e5 takes, rook takes. Now I see there's rook b3 here. But now I have queen f5, right? Yeah, I have queen f5. And I think I'm winning in this position here. Because after rook f3, takes, if king h2. So maybe this was the way for him to hold the balance. I don't have a way to enter on g2 because he has just rook g1, or even the f3 pawn is falling, but I had to play like queen f5, and he just protects the pawn on h3 with king h2, and this is how the game will be drawn. So yeah, pretty long variation, and I think pretty hard for a human to play as white, and especially for a player like ratnakaran, who is like who loves dynamic play. It's very hard for him to weaken his own king like this, psychologically. So that's probably why he missed this variation with knight b6. But yeah, now I see it's the best move. I calculated bishop takes f8, but I think it doesn't work because of knight f3 check. Like during the game I thought it draws for white, but after the game Ratnakaran told me that there's like I was saying rook b3, but queen f5 and rook f3 king h2 doesn't work because of bishop e5 check, and if queen g1 there's just queen g5 check, and that's a checkmate. And that's why white had to play rook b8 check. And now bishop f8, there are two moves, bishop f8 and king f7 for black. I was calculating bishop f8, and here I saw rook b3, queen f5, rook f3, f3, king h2, protecting the h3 pawn again. And now my bishop is on f8, so it can't go to the e5 square, and the d6 square is covered by white c pawn. So I had to play something like bishop g7 now, but there's rook g1 coming, and after bishop e5 check there's rook g3, and I couldn't really make this variation work for me. I think bishop g3 just king g3 is fine for. Oh no, it's not fine. Yeah, queen g5 check, king f3, there's queen h5 check, and the white's queen is falling. And if king h2 back, then there's this mate in 1, of course. But if fg3, there's f2, and now this queen f1 is the forced move, because if king g2, there's queen e4 check, king f2. Okay, so the a4 knight is protected now. Yeah, a blind spot there. But yeah, so that's why I can't play bishop g7, and I have to repeat moves with queen f4 check and like this. So this was a draw. But after the game, Ratnakaran told me that rook b8 check, king f7 could have been played, and after rook b7 I could just play king e8 and bring up my king like this. If rook b8 check, maybe I have to be a bit careful. I can't play king d7 because of king c6, and my king is getting unnecessarily exposed. So king e7, rook b7 check, and now rook king d8, rook b8 check, king c7, and yeah, this is how I win here, because if he has no more checks. So if he plays rook b3 protecting the h3 pawn, I can just take queen f5, and if takes, and this is made in a similar fashion. So a pretty crazy line really. I am happy that it works. But he played queen g4, and here I took on g4, h4, rook f7, again protecting the 7th rank, and knight b6, rook d8. Here already I thought that I was clearly winning, but it was a technical task, like not to allow counterplay. And for a player like Ratnakaran, who is always vying for like complications, it's like you have to be always awake in the game. So bishop f8, king f8, rook b2, rook c7, rook c1, king e7. I'm slowly but surely consolidating my position. He played f4. Initially I was going to play e3, g3 and now knight e5, but then I saw this rook b3 is there and I have no squares on here for my knight. So, and I realized that the e4 pawn is a passed pawn, e4 and d5 pawns, so I shouldn't really exchange them. And I played h5, and after gh5, if g5 there's rook f8 I think, and after g3 there's h4, and if gh4 rook f4, this I think just something like king d8 and then rook h7. This pawn is going to fall soon and I'm clearly winning. So I played gh5, rook b3, rook f8, rook h3, and here I played rook f5. Maybe rook f4 is also working, but I didn't want to complicate matters. After rook h5, there's a threat of rook b5 now, and let's say black plays a stupid move like like a5, then there's rook d5, and after e d5, knight d5, there's a funny fork by the knight. But there was a more concrete idea behind playing rook f5 and not rook f4. I think if rook h5, what did I say actually? Yeah, maybe I was not I didn't find a good way to protect my pawn out there, but maybe just knight b4 would have been winning. Yeah, but anyways, after rook f5, a more solid approach, rook b1, knight d4. I'm trying to play knight e2 and take on f4 next, of course, and also simultaneously attacking the c5 pawn. He plays rook c3 and I took on f4. Maybe even knight e2 was working, and now knight takes f4, then knight d3, but I saw something here, maybe this knight 8, b7 check. Yeah, maybe this was a better way to win the game, but I took on f4 with my rook, knight 8, rook c8, rook b7 check, king f6, knight b6, and he actually found some counterplay here, but I played rook g8 and my idea was to go knight e8 and knight e2 and rook h4 check next, and he plays rook h3. I played h4 trying to render this h3 rook useless, and after rook h7 I played rook gg4, protecting the h4 pawn and trying to go rook f2 next move and taking the g2 pawn. Knight d7 was played in the game and king g6, rook e7, rook g5, taking away the e5 square for the knight. It was actually threatening to fork my rook and king with knight e5 check next move, but after rook g5, rook e8, king g7, rook e7, I calculated this out and I realized that it's winning. King f7, I was mostly calculating rook h4, but there's e3 and he can't take my knight here because of e2 and there's no way to stop my pawn from queening. And if he plays rook h7 check, there are a few checks, but after it's all over I just play e2 and d1 queen and it's winning for me. Knight b8 was played in the game, and after rook g8, knight a6, rook a8, knight c7, rook takes a4, rook h4, and here I push my pawn with e3, rook h7, and here I hallucinated a bit. Just king g6 was winning, but I saw something like rook e7 and king f6, this, and I don't know. I just I don't know what happened during the game, but I didn't. I was just afraid of some knight d5 ideas, but it's like nothing there. King g8, rook h3, rook a3. I'm going to play e2 next. Actually, rook h3. If I play e2 directly, there's rook e3, and after rook a1, there's knight takes e6, queen takes, and I think this is winning clearly, but I didn't. I think something like knight b3, rook c3 is winning the pawn, but okay, I thought that I can just win the whole rook instead of winning the exchange, so I played rook a3, rook h5, king f7, this, the same thing happens, and he plays rook e8, e2, nowhere to stop my pawn from queening, of course, and after knight d5, e5, c6, knight d6, c7, I played rook c3, but I could just have queen my pawn, and after rook is exiled, queen e6, and there's no way white is queening successfully. So I mean, I played rook c3, but here my opponent resigned my game, the game, and after c8 queen, there's like rook c8, like queen, and I'm clearly winning. Yeah, so quite a nice game by me, I believe, except for queen g5, which was practically a good choice, I would say, but queen f6 would have been much more accurate. Like queen g5 was allowing him an almost forced draw with knight b6, but it's quite hard to find. Yeah, but yeah, other than that, the game was like almost flawless. And yeah, so currently I'm at 4 out of 5, and there's I think only one player at 5 out of 5, and then there are a couple of players at 4.5 out of 5, and so still I'm towards the top, and it's 5 more rounds to go, so a lot can happen in the 5 rounds, of course, and tomorrow we have a rest day. And yeah, so I hope you like the recap, and share your views in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed the video, do hit the like and the subscribe button. And yeah, see you day after tomorrow with the 6th round recap. So stay tuned, have a good day, night, evening, wherever you're from, and yeah, see you. Hare Krishna.